Things might finally be turning around in Baltimore. But let's not act like the road here wasn't full of potholes, especially when it comes to the Ravens' injury history and the behind-the-scenes drama that used to plague their strength and conditioning programs. Over the last 2 seasons, the Ravens have managed to stay surprisingly healthy, a drastic shift from the chaotic injury-riddled years that had fans watching practice squad guys take snaps in primetime games. But what changed? And more importantly, who paid the price before things got better? Former Ravens running back Mike Davis opened up recently about just how tough it was to be a player in Baltimore during the Steve Saunders era. Speaking on the Raw Room podcast, Davis didn't hold back at all. He said his experience with the Ravens strength program was so brutal, it made him want to walk away from the game entirely. That's not something you hear often. A guy saying it wasn't the game itself, it wasn't the injuries, it wasn't even the competition. It was the structure and culture of the team's training system that drove him to consider retirement. That's a massive red flag, and it only confirms what so many fans and analysts had suspected for years. We're talking about a period where players were dropping like flies, guys tearing ACLs in the summer, starters ending up on injured reserve before October, the depth chart looking like a graveyard halfway through the season. And now we know some of that wasn't just bad luck. Davis talked about mandatory 2 workout weeks. If you didn't get your lifts in by Wednesday, you were considered behind. He said the strength program felt more like punishment than preparation. And the thing is, that's not just a complaint. It's a philosophy that trickled down from the very top. Head coach John Harbaugh has always been known as an old-school, tough-love kind of coach. And that mindset has its place. But in the modern NFL, when guys are training like Olympic athletes and teams are investing millions in recovery and injury prevention, that kind of grinded-out culture can do more harm than good. And Harbaugh didn't just approve of Steve Saunders. He liked him. He defended him. Even when players were getting hurt, even when it was clear the program wasn't working, the Ravens doubled down. They kept Saunders around far longer than they should have. Now, to be fair, Harbaugh has evolved. In recent years, we've seen a clear shift in the way the Ravens operate. Practices have moved from morning to afternoon. Players like J.K. Dobbins, Rashad Bateman, and even Marcus Peters were given extra recovery days when needed. There's been more of an emphasis on balance, and the results are hard to argue with. 2 relatively healthy seasons in a row after back-to-back years of complete disaster? That's not coincidence. That's a correction. But Davis gave us a rare look behind the curtain. He mentioned the infamous conditioning test, 6 sets of 25-yard shuttles, totaling 300 yards, with 3-minute breaks in between. It doesn't sound horrible to the average fan, but to NFL veterans, guys who are already in shape, that kind of volume, and that kind of structure can break you down fast. Davis said he's been in plenty of systems before, but nothing like what he experienced in Baltimore. He said it felt like no matter how good of shape you were in, you were set up to fail. That kind of programming isn't about maximizing performance. It's about control. And it wasn't just Davis. You can go back and find clip after clip, story after story. Anonymous players talking about how brutal the training was, about how it didn't match what other organizations were doing, about how it left them gassed before they ever took the field on Sunday. Ben Cleveland is another name that comes up, a guy with talent, but who's had well-documented issues meeting the team's expectations during practice. Not a gamer? Not committed enough? Or maybe just not wired for a system that prioritizes grind over efficiency. And in Baltimore's program at the time, if you couldn't prove it in practice, you didn't see the field, plain and simple. You want to talk about how this team went from IR All-Stars to one of the healthier rosters in the league? It starts with changing the philosophy. And while part of that is getting Saunders out of the building, it's also about Harbaugh finally recognizing that times have changed. This isn't 2008 anymore. You can't just run guys into the ground Monday through Saturday and expect them to shine on Sunday. Players today are different. They have their own specialists, their own trainers, their own data. They're high-performance machines, like F1 cars. They're optimized for explosion, speed, and precision. But just like those machines, if you mishandle them, if you overwork or overload them, they break down, and they break down fast. So now the Ravens are in this new era, new staff, new focus on recovery, a more modern approach. But the echoes of those old days still linger. And honestly, that history matters. Because for every step forward this team takes now, you've got guys like Mike Davis who had to take the hits back then. You've got players whose careers were shortened, who never got a fair shake, who may have been written off as injury-prone or lazy when, in reality, they were just caught in a broken system. And it's not just about the weight room or the sprints. It's about the mentality. Harbaugh has always been a practice-like-you-play guy. The iron sharpens iron philosophy. That old-school attitude where you're expected to fight for everything in practice, and the games are the reward. But in today's NFL, that approach can be outdated and even dangerous. Look around the league. The teams that are consistently healthy aren't the ones doing Oklahoma drills in August. They're the ones using GPS data, tracking workload, adjusting schedules, and treating every body like an investment. It's refreshing to see the Ravens finally making that pivot, even if it came later than it should have. And while some fans might see that as a softening, the truth is it's just smart football. The Ravens' best players, guys like Lamar Jackson, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, are too valuable to risk in the name of toughness. You want them fresh in December, not broken by October. And to Harbaugh's credit, he does seem to be getting that now. But let's not forget how many warning signs it took for that message to finally land. Now, zooming out from the strength and conditioning talk, there's another layer to this story, and that's roster depth. The Ravens just finalized their 53-man roster, and even though they've made serious improvements, there are still some spots that feel like walking a tightrope without a net. One of the biggest concerns? Offensive line depth. If Ronnie Stanley goes down, what's the plan? Kick a young guy like Roger Rosengarten over to left tackle? Roll out a developmental rookie? It's not a comforting scenario. Stanley's been battling injuries for years, and while he's healthy now, there's always that lingering question of whether he can make it through a full season. And unlike past seasons where they had a utility lineman like Patrick McCrary who could plug in anywhere, this current group feels a little less versatile, a little more vulnerable. It's the same story at other spots too. Travis Jones looks like he's going to be a beast in the middle, but if he goes down, the drop-off is steep. And that's the challenge for a team like Baltimore. They've built a strong, top-heavy roster with stars at key positions. But if one or two of those guys go down, the entire equation changes. And in a conference stacked with contenders like Kansas City, Cincinnati, and Buffalo, you don't get much margin for error. That's why the Ravens' recent focus on depth has been so important. The emergence of undrafted rookies making the team, the addition of guys like Kyle Van Noy to supplement the edge group, the way they've brought in veterans to fill gaps without breaking the bank, it's all part of trying to insulate themselves from disaster. But still, there are pressure points, and everyone knows it. It's also why Baltimore didn't pull the trigger on that rumored Micah Parsons trade. When the Cowboys shipped Parsons off to Green Bay in exchange for 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark, there was a wave of what if from fans across the league. Could the Ravens have made that deal? Should they have? The short answer is no. Not because Parsons isn't worth it. He absolutely is. But because the Ravens just aren't built to make that kind of move. Giving up 2 firsts and a key player like Odafe Oweh would have gutted their future flexibility. Parsons would have commanded a record-setting contract extension, and with guys like Zay Flowers, Tyler Linderbaum, and Travis Jones all due for new deals over the next few years, something would have had to give. You can't keep everyone. And that's the hard truth Baltimore has to face right now. This roster is good, but it's expensive, and it's only going to get pricier. And that's the core of the Ravens' identity crisis heading into this season. They've built a contender, a real one. But how long can they keep it together? Are they all in on winning now? Or are they trying to straddle the line between contention and sustainability? Because when you've got Lamar Jackson playing at an MVP level, when you've got a defense with blue-chip talent across the board, when you've got rookies like Mike Green flashing in preseason and ready to contribute right away, you can't afford to play it safe. Mike Green, by the way, might be the X factor that makes all of this work. He's not a project. He's not a maybe someday kind of pick. He's NFL ready, and everything he's shown in camp and the preseason says he belongs. Explosive first step, freakish bend off the edge, relentless motor. Chuck Smith, the Ravens' pass rush specialist, has been raving about him. And when you've got a veteran like Van Noy in the room to help guide him, you're looking at a potential star being born in real time. So yeah, the Ravens could have pushed all their chips in and gone for Parsons. But maybe, just maybe, they already have their guy in-house. Younger, cheaper, and just as dangerous. And speaking of young, dangerous talent, we've got to talk about Kyle Hamilton. The Ravens didn't waste any time locking down their do-it-all safety, handing him a massive 4-year extension worth over $100 million, with more than $80 million guaranteed for injury. That's not just a contract, that's a statement. Baltimore is saying loud and clear, this guy is the future of our defense. And honestly, it's hard to argue with them. There might not be another player in the entire league with Hamilton's versatility, range, football IQ, and sheer physicality. He's the prototype for the modern safety, part linebacker, part corner, part predator drone. You want him in the box? He'll blow up your run game. You want him deep? He'll pick off your quarterback. You want him shadowing tight ends, crashing the flat, spying mobile QBs? Done, and done. But what makes Hamilton's deal even more interesting is how far he reset the safety market. Before him, the highest-paid safeties were floating around $20 million per year. Hamilton's new number? $25 million per season. That's not just a record, it's a message to the entire league. This isn't a nice player at a devalued position. This is a cornerstone, a defensive weapon that changes the math every time he's on the field. And if you watched him last season, especially down the stretch, you know exactly why the Ravens made this move. He wasn't just good, he was dominant. He was everywhere. That play on Christmas night against the 49ers still lives rent-free in every Ravens fan's mind. He gets pancaked on the run, pops back up, runs 20 yards downfield, and intercepts the ball mid-scramble. That's not normal. That's superhero stuff. And what makes it even crazier is how young he still is. Hamilton is just scratching the surface of what he can become. The Ravens knew they had something special when they drafted him, and now they've made sure he's not going anywhere. It's a huge win for Baltimore, not just because they locked down an elite player, but because they send a message to the rest of the locker room. Play like a Raven. Do your job. Excel. And we will take care of you. But now comes the tricky part. Because every time you sign a deal like that, it tightens the screws on your budget. You can't pay everyone. And the list of guys the Ravens want to keep is starting to clash with the list of guys they actually can keep. We're talking about Zay Flowers, Tyler Linderbaum, Travis Jones, Odafe Oweh, Mark Andrews, even someone like Isaiah Likely. All of them are either on rookie deals or heading into contract years. And the truth is, Baltimore is not going to keep them all. Zay Flowers is probably the top priority. And honestly, he should be. He changed the entire look and feel of the Ravens' offense the moment he stepped on the field. His route running, his explosiveness, his run-after catchability. He's everything this team has been looking for in a number one receiver. You don't just let a player like that walk. You build around him. The chemistry he's developing with Lamar Jackson is undeniable. And even though this is only year 2, you can already see the ceiling. This isn't a solid contributor. This is a future All-Pro. And if the Ravens want to maximize the Lamar Jackson window, keeping Zay in the building has to be a top priority. Tyler Linderbaum is next. Maybe the best center in football right now. And yeah, he might not be flashy. He doesn't light up the stat sheet. But ask anyone inside the building. He's the heartbeat of the offensive line. The way he moves in space, the way he calls protections, the way he leads, it's rare. Centers like this don't come around often. The problem? They also don't come cheap. Linderbaum is already rumored to be eyeing a deal worth more than $20 million per season. That's a lot of money for an interior lineman, especially when you're already paying Ronnie Stanley. And you know Zay Flowers is about to cash in too. Then you've got Odafe Oweh, who's coming off a solid year and might be setting himself up for a breakout season. But edge rushers don't come cheap. Even guys with average production get paid. And if Oweh puts together a double-digit sack season, you can bet some team will be ready to throw money his way. Do the Ravens try to keep him? Or do they trust Mike Green to step into that role and take over? Speaking of Green, the more he plays, the more that question answers itself. The Ravens didn't draft him to be a developmental guy. They drafted him to be a difference maker. And the way he's looked in preseason and training camp, it's clear he's already making a case for significant snaps early. We've seen the Ravens slow-roll rookies before, especially on defense. But Green looks like the kind of player who forces your hand. You don't keep a guy like that on the bench. You let him hunt. And while we're talking about the roster, there's one name that feels like a looming storyline, Mark Andrews. As beloved as he is in Baltimore, as crucial as he's been to Lamar's development, it's hard to ignore the signs. Andrews is heading into the final stretch of his deal, and there's a growing sense that this might be his last year in a Ravens uniform. It's not personal. It's not about talent. It's about math. Baltimore simply can't pay everyone. And if Isaiah likely continues to develop, and all signs point to that being the case, the Ravens might decide that tight end is one of the few spots they can afford to go young. You can almost feel the transition coming. Andrews wants a big payday, and rightly so. He's been a top-5 tight end for years. But between Zay emerging as the go-to weapon and the Ravens needing to save cap room for the future, it's possible Andrews prices himself out of Baltimore. And don't forget, the Ravens have always been willing to let great players walk when the time comes. It's painful, but it's part of the business. The same could be true for guys like Travis Jones. Interior defensive linemen are starting to cash in league-wide, and while Jones hasn't fully exploded yet, he's shown flashes of dominance. If he breaks out this year, his price tag could soar. And then what? Do you lock up your young D lineman for the future, or do you trust your scouts to find the next one? It's the eternal Ravens question. Pay the guy you developed, or find another one in the 3rd round and start over. It's a delicate balance. Win now, but don't mortgage the future. Invest in your stars, but don't get handcuffed by the cap. And for General Manager Eric DeCosta, that's the tightrope he has to walk every single year. So far, he's done a masterful job. But this next wave of extensions might be the toughest yet. Because there's real talent in this locker room. Guys you want to build around. Guys who deserve to get paid. And through all of it, there's this growing urgency. The Ravens are not in a rebuild. They're not in a figure-it-out phase. This is a Super Bowl window. Right now. Today. With Lamar Jackson in his prime, with a defense stacked with playmakers, with an offensive core that's finally complete, there's no time to wait. Every decision has to be made with one goal in mind: winning the AFC, winning the Super Bowl. Everything else is noise. You could feel that urgency in how they approached this offseason. No more patchwork moves. No more experiments. They went out and got Derrick Henry. They locked up Hamilton early. They built depth on both sides of the ball. This isn't a team hoping to be good. This is a team that expects to win. And yet, with all the talent, all the planning, all the careful roster construction, it still comes down to health. The Ravens have been lucky the last couple years. But we know how quickly that can change. One bad stretch, one unlucky hit, and everything shifts. That's why the evolution of their training and recovery programs matters so much. That's why Mike Davis speaking out was so important. Because it reminded everyone just how thin the margin is. Just how quickly things can unravel. But if this team stays healthy, if Lamar Jackson stays upright, if Kyle Hamilton stays in full flight, if Zay Flowers keeps breaking ankles in space, the Ravens are going to be a nightmare matchup for anyone in the league. They have the tools. They have the talent. And now, they finally seem to have the infrastructure to support a full season without collapsing under the weight of injuries and bad luck. You can feel it in the way they practice. It's competitive, but calculated. Intense, but measured. No more grinding guys into dust in August just to have them limp into week 1. No more philosophical stubbornness that leaves your stars sidelined by Halloween. There's a maturity to this version of the Ravens, a sense that they've learned from the past, and they're ready to write a different future. And if that future includes a deep playoff run, it's going to come from players like Hamilton, Zay, Green, and Linderbaum taking the next step. It's going to come from Harbaugh continuing to evolve. It's going to come from smart decisions, the ones that keep your core intact and your cap sheet clean. It's going to come from trusting your young players and developing them the right way, not just by throwing them into the fire, but by building a system that helps them thrive. So yes, the Ravens lost out on Micah Parsons. But maybe they didn't really lose anything at all. Maybe what they gained, in cohesion, in continuity, in long-term sustainability, matters more. Because when you look at the roster right now, it's not hard to see the vision. You've got your quarterback. You've got your defensive anchor. You've got your young stars stepping into their own. You've got a team built to contend, not just for 1 year, but for several. Now the question is, can they finish the job? Can they stay healthy? Can they navigate the toughest division in football and get through the gauntlet of the AFC playoffs? Can they finally, after all these years, turn potential into silver and hoist that Lombardi trophy again? Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. The Baltimore Ravens are reportedly making waves in the NFL community with their latest move. as rumors swirl around the acquisition of offensive lineman TEVIN Jenkins. Sources close to the team suggest that Jenkins, widely regarded as one of the most formidable blockers in recent college drafts, is poised to bring an unprecedented level of protection to the quarterback position. The speculation has sent fans into a frenzy, imagining a revamped offensive line that could transform the Ravens' passing game, which has struggled at critical moments in recent seasons. Insiders hint that Jenkins' combination of size, technique, and football IQ makes him nearly untouchable in pass protection scenarios, earning him the nickname, the Invincible Wall, among scouts. Whispered conversations suggest that his presence could allow the team to diversify their offensive strategies, giving quarterbacks more time in the pocket and opening lanes for running backs in ways previously thought unattainable. Analysts and sports media have begun quietly debating whether Jenkins' addition could redefine the Ravens' offensive philosophy, potentially elevating them to championship contention earlier than expected. There's also chatter that the coaching staff sees him as a foundational piece for years to come, a linchpin who could stabilize a unit that has faced injuries and inconsistencies in recent campaigns. The excitement is palpable, as fans speculate whether this move signals a broader strategic shift toward a more aggressive, quarterback-centric attack. Even rivals are reportedly keeping a close eye, aware that the presence of a player like Jenkins could force defensive coordinators to rethink their schemes entirely. While official statements remain scarce, the atmosphere in Baltimore is buzzing with anticipation, and local sports bars are already seeing discussions evolve into passionate debates about the long-term impact of this acquisition. There's an undercurrent of secrecy surrounding the deal, which only intensifies the intrigue, as insiders carefully choose their words when hinting at what Jenkins' role might become in the high-stakes environment of professional football. Rumor mills suggest that the Ravens front office has been meticulously planning this acquisition, with scouts and coaches scouting not just talent but character, and Jenkins is said to have impressed on every level. The potential ripple effects on team dynamics, offensive cohesion, and locker room morale are the subject of endless speculation among the community, fueling a narrative that feels both electric and slightly mysterious. If the whispers hold true, this signing could mark a turning point in how the Ravens approach both offense and overall team identity, transforming them into a unit that commands respect through sheer line dominance. Across social media, fans dissect film clips and compare Jenkins to other linemen in the league, debating whether his presence alone could elevate the Ravens' offensive output and drastically reduce quarterback pressures. Conversations extend to draft strategy, with some insiders suggesting that this move frees up other roster decisions, creating a domino effect that could reshape the team's future. As the rumor spreads, the question on everyone's mind is whether this is just the beginning of a larger, more ambitious plan by Baltimore's management, a strategy designed to maximize talent around a protected quarterback and, ultimately, secure postseason success. Speculation intensifies around the Ravens' locker room dynamics, with insiders hinting that TEVIN Jenkins' arrival could alter the culture and hierarchy within the team. Sources familiar with team operations suggest that Jenkins is not only valued for his technical abilities, but also for his leadership potential, which could resonate strongly with younger players who look to the offensive line for guidance. The buzz in local media outlets paints Jenkins as a stabilizing figure, someone capable of anchoring an offensive unit that has occasionally appeared disjointed under pressure. Rumors circulate that coaches have already envisioned various schemes leveraging his unique skill set, from intricate zone-blocking assignments to high-stakes pass protection on critical downs. Analysts and fans alike speculate on how this could affect the Ravens' quarterback, potentially giving him confidence to take more calculated risks downfield and expand the passing game's creativity. Conversations among insiders suggest that Jenkins' ability to read defensive alignments and adjust in real time could dramatically reduce sacks and pressures, a transformation that many believe is long overdue for the Ravens' offense. There's a buzz that his presence may also influence free agent movements, as other players might feel compelled to join a team with a fortified offensive line, creating a subtle gravitational pull around Baltimore. Even rival teams are said to be quietly assessing film of Jenkins, aware that facing a lineman of his caliber could demand a complete rethink of defensive strategies and blitz packages. Social media is alive with fan theories, speculation about his first game impact, and endless comparisons to legendary Ravens linemen, which has only fueled the excitement. Some insiders hint that Jenkins' work ethic, combined with the team's structured training approach, could accelerate his integration, allowing him to make a tangible impact in his rookie season. The whispers also suggest that this could be a precursor to a larger offensive overhaul, with executives quietly contemplating additional signings or draft picks aimed at complementing Jenkins' strengths. Sports talk radio has picked up the rumor, with hosts debating the potential ripple effects on both the passing and rushing games, emphasizing that a player of Jenkins' profile rarely enters the league without changing team dynamics. While the front office maintains a carefully crafted silence, the rumor mill continues to speculate about contract details, potential incentives, and the long-term vision that Baltimore may have for him. If the speculations prove accurate, Jenkins could become the cornerstone of a Ravens team that seeks to dominate not just through athleticism, but also through calculated, strategic excellence. Conversations suggest that his presence might allow coordinators to experiment with dual-threat formations, complex blitz pickups, and even screen passes that require impeccable timing, all facilitated by the security he provides in the trenches. The community anticipates a new era where the Ravens' offensive line is not just a functional unit, but a force capable of reshaping the game's tempo, and every day brings new murmurs about what Jenkins' debut will reveal. Analysts, fans, and even casual observers have begun preparing for what could be an offensive renaissance, eagerly awaiting confirmation that the rumors are true and that the invincible wall is set to redefine Baltimore football in profound ways. Whispers in sports circles also suggest that TEVIN Jenkins' signing might be part of a broader philosophy change within the Ravens coaching staff, signaling a strategic pivot towards protecting the quarterback as the central offensive priority. Sources hint that coaches have been analyzing game tape with renewed intensity, identifying patterns in which pass protection has faltered and envisioning Jenkins as the ultimate solution to these recurring issues. The rumor mill speculates that his technical prowess, combined with athletic agility, allows him to dominate one-on-one matchups while providing adaptability against more complex defensive schemes, a skill set rare even among top-tier linemen. There's also chatter that Jenkins' ability to anticipate blitzes and stunts could revolutionize pre-snap reads, giving the quarterback a nearly unprecedented level of comfort and freedom to operate within the pocket. Analysts quietly debate how this could influence the Ravens' play calling, with suggestions that the offensive coordinator may now feel emboldened to call deeper passes and implement more dynamic formations that were previously considered risky. Rumors circulate that teammates are already adjusting mentally, anticipating a level of security and confidence in the offensive line that could foster a more aggressive offensive identity. Beyond the field, insiders speculate that Jenkins' influence might extend to leadership development, mentoring younger linemen in technique, preparation, and situational awareness, creating a ripple effect across the roster. The Invincible Wall nickname has reportedly begun circulating within the locker room, sparking both humor and serious admiration among teammates, further feeding the narrative that his impact will be immediate and lasting. Fans and commentators alike are dissecting past performances and projecting his potential influence on future games, considering matchups against elite pass rushers and how Jenkins might neutralize them. Some analysts whisper that his presence could even affect the Ravens' draft strategy, enabling management to prioritize skill positions while trusting Jenkins to anchor the line. There's intrigue around how this move might affect rival teams' defensive schemes, with speculation that opposing coordinators may need to rethink blitz patterns and gap responsibilities to counteract his presence. Media chatter hints at the idea that Jenkins' integration into the team could coincide with other strategic acquisitions, forming a coordinated plan aimed at long-term competitiveness. The excitement surrounding the rumors extends to fan forums, social media debates, and sports podcasts, all speculating on how a single addition to the offensive line could redefine the team's identity. Discussions even extend to playoff potential, with whispers suggesting that a fully operational offensive line featuring Jenkins might allow the Ravens to finally overcome recurring postseason obstacles. Analysts cautiously note that while the speculation is high, the potential upside is enormous, with Jenkins' presence possibly shaping Baltimore's offensive philosophy for years to come. Even casual observers are being drawn into the conversation, captivated by the idea that one player could symbolize a paradigm shift, redefining what it means to protect the quarterback at the professional level. The rumor mill continues to churn around TEVIN Jenkins, with speculation suggesting that his acquisition by the Ravens could have ripple effects well beyond the offensive line, potentially influencing the team's overall strategy and league perception. Insiders hint that Jenkins' combination of size, agility, and instinctive blocking ability allows him to control the line of scrimmage in ways that extend to every facet of the offensive attack, from timing passes to opening up unexpected running lanes. Discussions among experts suggest that this could fundamentally alter how defensive coordinators approach the Ravens, possibly leading to a shift in league-wide defensive scheming to counteract his presence. Whispered reports indicate that coaches envision Jenkins as a pivotal element in both pass and run game schemes, providing consistency and reliability that has been missing in critical moments of previous seasons. Fans have begun debating whether his skill set will allow the quarterback to operate with a newfound level of freedom, potentially accelerating the development of rookie and young passers who thrive on protection and timing. Analysts speculate that Jenkins' ability to anticipate defensive formations and adjust on the fly may reduce costly pressures and sacks, a transformation that could impact scoring efficiency and drive sustainability throughout the season. Rumors also suggest that his leadership qualities extend beyond technique, with teammates reportedly admiring his preparation, focus, and professionalism, factors that could elevate the performance of the entire offensive unit. Conversations among scouts indicate that his presence could influence future personnel decisions, creating a domino effect as management evaluates complementary talent to maximize the offensive line's effectiveness. Social media chatter highlights the growing excitement, with fans projecting how Jenkins' debut could redefine first-quarter dynamics, third-down efficiency, and red-zone execution, turning speculation into fervent anticipation. Some whispers hint at possible contract structuring designed to incentivize both performance and longevity, reflecting the team's belief in Jenkins as a long-term cornerstone. Analysts quietly note that while the hype may seem inflated, there is a consensus that a player of his caliber entering the Ravens lineup is a rare opportunity that could shift momentum within the league. The buzz surrounding Jenkins' arrival is also fueled by comparisons to legendary offensive linemen, both past and present, as fans and commentators debate whether he can live up to the lofty expectations that have been whispered for weeks. If the rumors hold true, Jenkins' impact could extend beyond statistics, shaping the Ravens' identity as a team capable of dictating offensive tempo, controlling the line of scrimmage, and redefining the very concept of quarterback protection in the NFL. Finally, speculation is mounting that TEVIN Jenkins' rumored arrival in Baltimore is more than just a tactical roster move. It could signal a broader cultural and strategic shift within the Ravens organization. Sources close to the team suggest that coaches are quietly thrilled about the potential for Jenkins to act as both a technical anchor and a motivational presence, transforming how younger players approach training, preparation, and game day execution. The rumor mill hints that his presence might foster a new standard of accountability and excellence across the offensive unit, encouraging linemen to emulate his technique, work ethic, and in-game intelligence. Conversations among analysts speculate that Jenkins' impact could extend to play-calling dynamics, allowing offensive coordinators to implement more creative schemes, including delayed blitz pickups, complex combination blocks, and pass protections that adapt on the fly to defensive adjustments. Fans are abuzz with speculation about how this could elevate quarterback performance, particularly in high-pressure situations, as Jenkins' invincible wall reputation might translate into tangible reductions in sacks, hurries, and quarterback hits. Insider whispers suggest that rival teams are carefully studying his skill set, anticipating adjustments to their defensive strategies to counteract his presence, which only adds fuel to the rumor-driven excitement. Discussions on social media and sports forums often revolve around projections for Jenkins' first season, with debates about whether his addition alone could be the catalyst for playoff contention and postseason success. Analysts suggest that his influence may extend beyond the field, shaping leadership hierarchies and mentoring younger players in technique, discipline, and football intelligence. Reports hint that his signing may also free up future draft decisions, allowing the front office to focus on complementary talent that maximizes his abilities and the overall line cohesion. There's a palpable sense of anticipation in Baltimore, where fans imagine a scenario in which Jenkins anchors the offensive line, creating a dominant unit that allows the Ravens to execute both power and finesse plays with unprecedented confidence. The rumor-driven narrative paints a picture of a franchise entering a new era, where quarterback protection is elevated to an art form, and Jenkins emerges as the defining piece of a broader strategy aimed at reshaping the team's offensive identity. Conversations in bars, sports radio, and online forums hint that if these rumors are accurate, the Ravens could become a team known not only for athletic talent, but for the strategic excellence and dominance emanating from a revitalized offensive line led by Jenkins. Fans, analysts, and insiders alike are waiting with bated breath, speculating on whether this acquisition will indeed live up to the lofty expectations and create the kind of ripple effects that echo throughout the NFL for years to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.